Hey everyone, nice to see you. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Maria. I'm one of the partners at a crypto-focused VC firm called Electric Capital. We are an early stage venture capital firm that has invested across layer ones and DeFi and NFTs. Our thesis on a really high level is, we believe blockchain and crypto can be used for a lot of different things, but one of the most interesting, and we would argue most interesting asymmetrical kind of market opportunities is for a parallel financial system. And so of course DeFi is a great fit, and for NFTs especially, we're looking at it as assets upon which new financial instruments can be built as well. Just a little bit on my background, super quickly and chronologically. I studied political science and computer science at Harvard, and then went to work at Microsoft for a couple of years as a product manager. Afterwards, went to get my master's in computer science, started my own company in the supply chain company, or started my own company in the supply chain space, rather. And then through that, ended up really getting into crypto, joined crypto full-time in 2018. I've always been super interested in reading a lot of sci-fi, Snow Crash in particular, and so very interested in the metaverse. In 2018, Crypto Voxels was kind of the metaverse that existed, and there's not, there's a limited set of things that you can do. You can walk around and check out other architecture in the world. They were also one of the first platforms to integrate with NFT marketplaces, and so one of the things that people did was just hang up their art, their NFT art on the walls, and so really explored NFTs through that. And of course, it's really taken off, and OpenSea has transacted more than $2 billion in value every month for the past 3 months. And then you can contrast that to October 2020, so this time last year. They transacted less than $5 million. So I think it's not controversial to say that NFTs have taken off. Probably what is controversial is whether NFTs are here to stay. And I think if you're a detractor of NFTs, it may seem strange that people are holding a whole conference around JPEGs and, are we still going to be here around this time next year? I think that's a real question. I don't think that's a question that's been answered, and I think that's what the space needs to push toward, is building new things and building utility. And I think that's one of the things that I'm privileged to see is just, as an investor, I get to see a lot of interesting projects in the space. And I think people are missing the point when they think of NFTs as art or collectibles. I think that's really just the tip of the iceberg. And it's important to contextualize where we are in the space, even from a timeline perspective. NFTs are really young. They were first created ignoring NFTs or kind of non-fungible like assets that exist on Bitcoin. They were first created in 2017 with CryptoKitties, creating the first kind of NFT standard. And then January 2018 is when the first minting and NFT marketplaces existed. And then in 2021, there are so many tools and platforms now for creators to mint and create their own NFTs that really what used to take entire developer platforms or developer teams to do, a single creator can do themselves. And as a result, we have a lot of NFTs. We have this huge supply of NFTs. And we're really shifting right now from figuring out, okay, how do we create NFTs to how do we really use NFTs? And that's what I want to focus on for today's talk, is to walk through 5 different areas that I think we're already seeing NFTs being used for. And I think these 5 areas will be developed further as well. So the 5 areas are, first one is proof of patronage. Second one is co-creation and co-ownership, reputation and identity, discovery and curation, and lastly, financialization. So let's talk about proof of patronage first. I think this is the easiest one to grasp and something that a lot of people are building toward right now, which is creator platforms. Thinking about NFTs as a way for you to to be a patron of your favorite creators, be they musicians or artists, and in return for purchasing their NFTs and participating in their communities, NFT holders can be rewarded in different ways. And this could be either with revenue or with exclusive access. So we can imagine a world in the future where, if you go to 5 different concerts with your favorite musician, these are 5 separate NFTs that you hold in your wallet, and with 5 NFTs, you can unlock all sorts of exclusive content, exclusive ways to interact with your favorite creators. I think we're already kind of seeing this at NFT.NYC. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but there are a lot of events now that are gated based on NFTs. And so if you're a patron of a certain collection or of a certain artist, that's your gateway to a certain kind of online space. So the next thing I want to talk about is co-creation and collaborative ownership. I very firmly believe that the next Harry Potter or Marvel universe is actually going to be based on NFTs. And that rather than passively consuming content, which is what we do today, and then we kind of rabidly talk about them on Twitter, I think creators or fans, the line between fans and creators are really going to get blurred. And fans are going to own pieces of the media and the content that they consume, and fans will in turn create a lot of really interesting content for those NFTs. So a really concrete example of a platform that's doing that today is called Hype. The co-founders are Scott Lewis, who's one of the co-founders of DeFi Pulse, as well as Suparu Roy, who is an ex-UX lead for Amazon Alexa. So the two of them have created a platform where people can log in with their NFTs and begin to post stories about their NFTs. And this can take different forms. It can be why you purchased it. It could be stories about trials and tribulations that your NFTs have gone through. And over time, this sort of lore develops around individual NFTs. And I really believe this is the beginning of something. There's something about NFTs that really inspire us to tell stories around them, to identify with them on an emotional and personal level. That I think really the most compelling stories may come from NFT owners that begin to tell stories around the NFTs that they own. The third really interesting frontier that we can explore is on-chain reputation and identity. This one I'm super excited about because right now the dominant way to enter an NFT community is to just buy an NFT, which is easier than it sounds because Bored Apes cost like $150,000 right now, and CryptoPunks cost like $500,000. And these are astronomical values. And the only way to enter these communities is to be able to, effectively money is the filter. And I think, there's some utility in making money the filter because it says something about your conviction for the space or for the collection that you're buying into. But I think when prices become that astronomical, money actually becomes a blocker. And rather than filtering communities based on the ability to pay, what will be really interesting in the future is the ability to earn NFTs and to be able to gift people NFTs. So an example here is if you're a top governance contributor, maybe you're a really active governance politician. Maybe you're one of the most active developers in a certain protocol. Maybe you're one of the biggest liquidity providers for a certain pool. You should be able to earn NFTs based on the actions that you take on chain. And these would be NFTs that no amount of money can buy. These are NFTs that you can only earn through contributions. And so now all of a sudden, we're going to have NFT communities that are not based on the ability to drop $500,000. We're going to have NFT communities based on vibrant developer communities or vibrant DAO contributors. And over time, these NFTs, as they accrue in our wallets and as we earn these NFTs, they're really going to become an on-chain reputation for all of us, for all of our online personas going forward. The boomer way to think about it is maybe that it's an online, on-chain LinkedIn. But really, I think these are small pockets of ways that we build new identity and new personas online. And I think NFTs are going to play a really pivotal role in doing that, in shepherding all of us into the metaverse. So now let's talk about the fourth category, which is discovery and curation. NFTs today are a little bit like websites in the 90s. I actually still remember when websites were super confusing, no one knew how to access them, and there's this new data type. There's no organizational structure around NFTs. And because there's no organizational structure, discovery is difficult. There are no recommendation engines. None of that has been built yet because, again, there are these new data types. And so I think the next Google, the next Facebook, the next social platforms, the next recommendation engines are going to be built around NFTs. One really interesting project here is a project called JPEG, or JPG. Effectively, what they allow people to do is curate lists of NFTs, which I think on the surface sounds trivial, except what ends up happening is as people create and curate lists of NFTs, you start to develop social signals around which NFTs are valuable. NFTs become nodes that you can attach metadata to. You can say this particular CryptoPunk has been curated 2,000 times. There's something interesting and special with this CryptoPunk. And this CryptoPunk maybe has been curated by some of the most influential people in the space. That's another really interesting signal. And so all of a sudden, you're creating this network of information that you can attach to NFTs, and this feels like the beginning of a search engine and the beginnings of being able to use this data for recommendation engines and for curation and for organizing a lot of the chaos that we're experiencing right now. And the last category I want to talk about is financialization. This one I'm going to talk about really quickly, even though I can spend like an hour here, which is that NFTs were created to be non-fungible by default. You really can't exchange them for one another. But I think what's really interesting is you can start pooling them together, fractionalizing these pools, creating shards of NFTs that are ERC20s that are interchangeable with each other, which can then plug into DeFi. And so all of a sudden, you can have really active NFT collateralized lending networks. You can have index funds based on NFTs. And you can really create very viral financial products based on NFTs that people are very emotionally attached to. So these are the 5 frontiers of NFTs. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. I hope you guys have a great night.